What's up, everybody? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the legendary Grain from Arlington, Texas. And so we are streaming live to several different platforms tonight: X, Rumble, Instagram, Facebook, a lot of different social media sites. I'm going through trying out a little website called Riverside.fm. I've had it for a while, haven't been using it much. And so we're going to try this out tonight. All right. So, of course, why I wanted to go live is because it seems like, some of you have seen my, rebellion video about rebellion. And, you know, I really mean that shit. And so when you're in the heavy metal rock music, dealing with bands, musicians, artists, free speech, it's a pretty big thing. As a matter of fact, some of you know that I'm taking Big Al's comedy workshop at Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club. And one of the first things he says is, he says, this is a free speech zone. You know what I'm saying? And for some reason, comedy gets it, but heavy metal, rock, punk, whatever the fuck it is, they don't get it. They want to cry, they want to bitch, they want to backstab, they want to protest, they want to be really just unfun, let's call it, okay? Unfun. And so, you know, when I started the Memorial Day Metal Fest, I'm going to go into some different little things here. Let's see. Where is it? We're going to go over here. All right. All right. So we're looking at I asked Grok here, give me the reported suicides in the military last 20 years, including sources, right? So it goes into it, okay? And down here, you can see when I started the Memorial Day Metal Fest, in the beginning, at the time it was the highest, in 2015, 31. But look at this, even in the Trump years, uh, from 2016 to 2020, and then from 2020 to 2022, there was more than, during the Obama years, right? Now, that's called, being objective with facts. You're looking at the facts and you're like, wow, the suicides doesn't look like it has anything to do with red, blue, Democrat, Republican, whatever you want to call it, right? So when I started that, it wasn't just, the suicides that, were concerning me. I'm going to go over here to another uh, some other tabs over here. And so we have other stuff that was happening during that time. Of course, this is from 2022, but anyone who's been on the internet, there was a big crackdown. There's a crackdown on 4chan. There was a crackdown on Reddit, and a bunch of this stuff. Some of the biggest crackdowns on free speech was in 2015. A lot of you know that, I had 18-year Facebooks under Matt Louderback, and I had a backup MJ Louderback, because that's when they started to uh, start censoring speech. Okay, right when Trump was running, and so a lot of us saw that, and you know, we didn't like it. We didn't like censorship. We don't like it. Doesn't matter whether it's right, left, or whatever it is. You shouldn't do that. The government should not be in, that business of censoring Americans, right? And as a matter of fact, to bring that up, I'm gonna go over here. And I'm gonna show you something over here. So I asked Grok, what's the legal United States definition of free speech, right? Here it says there's no single concise statutory definition of free speech in the United States federal law. Instead, the legal concept of free speech, from more formally freedom of speech, comes directly from the First Amendment, which states Congress shall make no law and an establishment of religion or prohibiting free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government redress of grievances, right? Well, that's funny because, you know, I showed you, let's show you a few things about during the Obama years. Obama's legacy, the trashing of free speech, right? Here's another one. Former President Obama argues free speech doesn't apply to social media companies. What the fuck's up with that, right? You got this one, Barack Obama's war on free press, right? But we don't want to, leave it just to the blue team, right? So let's go recently, right? Let's go recently. Ooh, what is this? You mean Red Governor Ron DeSantis? He's going to make free speech laws? Oh, you bet. You bet. And guess what? For what country? What country do you think it is? Right? Right? You can't say anything about the certain country and the influence in media companies, major media, corporate media. You can't say their influence in the porn industry. You can't say their influence in AI. You can't say their influence in social media. You can't say anything, or else, according to Ron DeSantis here, you're septic, as we say, right? And so he's supposed to be, right wing, ran for president, and all this. Like, what is up with people not being able to be criticized? Like, since when did criticizing people outside the United States, we needed free speech laws for that, right? And so, like, I bring this up because, it goes in here prohibiting a person from intentionally dumping litter onto private property, harassing, threatening, or intimidating. I mean, that sounds like Antifa, right? Let's see. Creating a new trespass offense who is not authorized, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, this is all for look, he even signed it. Jerusalem, Israel is where he signed it. Like, I mean, can you believe that? A governor of one of the biggest states, red state, signs a law not in his own state, not in his own country, but in another country. Like, what kind of fucking bullshit is that? That has nothing to do with the red or blue team. It has nothing to do with Republican and Democrat. It has to do with fucking common sense. Like, what in the fuck? And so, you know, I know Brandon has gotten accused of, being a right-minded individual. And what's funny is, like, people, can't think for themselves. It seems like corporate media has their algorithm to y'all's brains, okay? And these media conglomerates that own multiple, media companies that, unfortunately, the Telecommunication Act of 1996 caused, okay? It allowed media conglomerates to own more than 25% in a given market. That is how we got all these big media conglomerates selling fake news and all of that other jazz. And guess who allowed that? That was Bill Clinton. And it was under the guise of, oh, it's the digital. We're transferring radio and television to digital. But it also allowed it. It used to be a media company couldn't own more than 25% of a given media in a big market. Like, you couldn't own 25% of a magazine, radio station, television station, or anything in a given market. Well, the Telecommunications Act of 1996, it did away with that. That's how Clear Channel, now iHeart Media, got so big. It was basically they lobbied a bunch of Republicans, to go ahead and pass it, and then everyone's like, "Oh, radio sucks." Well, no shit. Radio now, corporate radio might as well just be on an algorithm, right? But let's get back to on a second note. After this live, you can find me over here at Somewhere Bar. Our homies from Scream at the Sky are going to be in town. Okay, we also have a bunch of other bands. We got Agony, Beauty Morgue, and looks like Dunwich Heroes. And so y'all be sure to get out there. I'm gonna close some tabs here. Uh, okay. Another thing, I when it comes to free speech, I want people to understand. Even you young kids. You know, I'm 50, right? I'm 50. So here we have uh, the UK. Free speech crackdown sees up to 30 people a day arrested for petty offenses such as retweets and cartoons. Like, what kind of nonsense is this? I mean, and do y'all really want this stuff coming to our shores? I mean, it's happening in Canada. Everyone's feelings get hurt. Okay, and I don't care what anyone thinks. This started under Obama. That's who created this. It's you get words hurt. He's the guy who started it. All right, he's the guy who started. Accuse people first and get facts second. Okay, and it's really funny because the left does a good thing of not criticizing their side when they're in power. But Barack Obama, droned more people than any other president, on earth. Also, there's other stuff. Okay, I'll just say that. But it seems like when the right criticizes the right, for example, uh, uh, there's a guy in Dallas. His name's Saul Trevino. He, basically used to drive for Vinnie Paul. He drives for a lot of bands on the road. Okay, he's a bus driver, and so he popped up on my post today. Let's see if we can bring it up. Let's put him on Front Street. Let's put him on Front Street. And so it's like some people do not know how to go over to other people's like uh they don't know how to go into other people's like pages and basically learn, you know, how to talk, right? So this is this lady Emerald Robinson, okay? Hold on. Let me share it now. Okay, this is from my Facebook. She is a reporter who's been reporting on a lot of different stuff that a lot of mainstream uh, corporate media aren't reporting. And just like during COVID and everything else, everyone gets labeled as conspiracy theory or this or that, but really all they're doing is telling the truth. Okay, and it's funny. She makes a this was like her opinion on her ex, right? It says, folks, the FBI CIA cannot allow Trump to release the Epstein files because those files would show the FBI CIA allowed American children to be raped for decades by an agent for Israel in order to collect blackmail on American elites, and those elites are still in power today, right? And so, of course, Saul pops off. Never commented on any of my shit, right? GPT says no credibility or facts to back it up. I laughed on it, right? Well, first down here, He comments this, yes, it's funny passing a random meme off as claiming it to be factual without any sources to back it up, yet laughing at me. Come on, you're better than that, right? So, so I go up here. This is my first comment. I go, Saul Trevino, you believe Tech Bros AI? I go, Gab AI or uncensored AI are the only ones you should be using, unless you want to get the jab, say elections secure, or the Jews don't run Hollywood. Also, Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a trans furry. I was being sarcastic because if you don't know that the AIs are censored, just like the information was during COVID, then you're not paying attention. All right. And so uh he goes back down. Here I comment, Saul Trevino, this is not a meme. This is an X post. The fact that you don't know who Emerald Robinson is proof that you don't know what's going on, right? So he gets mad up here, goes, all the wording is still no facts to back up your meme. You know, I guess he doesn't understand what a meme is and what a screenshot of a X post is, right? So I say, let me see down here. I go, Saul Trevino, stick with your driving, weights, and hot rods. Leave the truth seeking to people actually searching it out, not cucks trying to defend the indefensible, going to people's pages, demanding facts for an opinion. That shit is, you know what, as fuck, right? And then down here, he posts a Wikipedia. Like, what kind of retard, especially like a right wing person, like posts Wikipedia, as when you're looking people up. Like it's stupid. Are you left wing or right wing or just confused? I think confused. So I go, Saul, look at you. You're so smart. You went to Wikipedia. Next thing you know, you're going to say Donald Trump and his people didn't say that they were going to release the Epstein files before the election. And then, of course, looks like Saul Trevino's bitch ass blocked me because he can't cognitively discern. To think Vinnie Paul hired this guy, shaking my damn head, metal my ass, internet pussies. And it's so true. It's so true because it's stupid. It's like stupid. Like you come to someone else's page, dick wagging, acting like you fucking know all this shit, and you like literally prove yourself to be a fool, like a fool, like a meathead, and you probably can't even fight, Saul. I mean, so it's really stupid. You cannot support anyone where you're so like indoctrinated that you can't criticize them when they do something bad. Like, what the hell? Right? Like people criticize people all the time and it's okay. It's okay. And so like it's just crazy that people get butthurt when they come over to your house, your page, they talk shit, they pop off, and then when you stick up for yourself, they get take their ball back, go home. It's like it's stupid. It's stupid, and just like thinking that people are left or right or whatever. It's like, how about you sit down with the motherfucker and have a cup of coffee or break some bread and actually know what the hell's going on? Like really, it's so foolish. It's so foolish. And so you know that's that. I mean, it's really really just aggravating if you want the truth. But I bring all this free speech up because I really think that everyone needs to be talking about this. If you're a musician, if you're in a band, because they are okay trying to bring this stuff to the United States where they can arrest you if you're anywhere outside the narrative. Now that, people talk about fascism, they talk about communism, they talk about all this bullshit, but when they're doing it right in front of your fucking face, you ain't doing a motherfucking thing. You're like, okay, don't say that word, it hurts. Oh, don't say that. Let's go protest this, protest that. And there's no logic in any of it. It's stupid. It's stupid. And then you don't even want to fight about it. So you're over here protesting, you're doing bullshit, and you don't even want to fight about it. Like why are you living and even protesting? It's stupid. It's stupid. And so I'm gonna go into let me go into this right now, right? No, let me go into Billy Corgan. So I'm gonna play this thing by Billy Corgan. Okay. It's on Instagram. And he goes into how he was approached by the government. So I want you all to listen to this real quick. Okay, so that's that, right? Let's see. Okay. I mean, we're going to go into some other areas right quick. But, I'm serious, when it comes to, free speech and new bans. Like y'all got to start thinking about like, you know, what are you writing? Like what are you saying? Like what are you lyrically saying? Because it's like to me, it just seems like lyrically when it comes to, you know, metal, okay, and rock, I mean, it used to be in the 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, they would talk about, the government. I mean, they would talk about, not compromising and basically fuck the government. And it just seems like a lot of the rock and metal bands today, like lyrically, y'all ain't saying shit. Like they just, basically, gave everyone this clot shot that's all coming out. All y'all called me conspiracy theorists and all this other bullshit. Okay. And now what? Now what? We're going through the same thing with AI, with any sort of information. What you need to understand, okay, for example, when Martin Luther, right, nailed the 95 Theses on the Catholic Church door, right? He basically, was translating, the Bible and he figured out, hey, the Catholic Church ain't even listening to what the scriptures say. And he's like, they're full of shit. And so, under the penalty of death, he went and he nailed this stuff right against the church door. And it's like, well, why didn't they know the different interpretations? Well, because they didn't want peasant people to read and learn how to write. They didn't want people to know the truth. So the Catholic Church was selling indulgences. Oh, you can get your family out of purgatory if you pay the Catholic Church, all this money, right? And it's just like you can take that into, I mean, like why America was founded. Everyone said, F that, the king went of England went and created his own Anglican church, had his own pope to give him a divorce because the Vatican wouldn't, and then started persecuting all other Christian religions that weren't, you know, Anglican. And so, people started, abandoning shit. And you can get into the Freemason, part of that if you want. Okay. I'm just Cliff Notes version. Uh, when it comes to speech, they didn't want in the church, they didn't want like the people to know what the Bible said. When we were in America, they, and other, societies, they didn't want women to learn how to read. Why? I mean, why don't you tell me why? They didn't want slaves to learn how to read, right? They didn't want these people discovering truth. And so this is a spirit. It's evil when that doesn't want truth to be revealed and covers it up. It's called evil. You understand? And so now we're in the world of AI, okay, where they can literally censor AIs. For example, I just told you, this argument with Saul, he don't even know what's going on. He's plugged in a little bit, but then once gets butt hurt when he gets put in his place. You know, it's stupid. It's stupid. Why do you people come to other people's pages with your bullshit? Like keep that shit on your page. I keep it on my page. If people want to see it, they see it. If they don't have to. But it's my free speech, right? We just went over the actual, definition. If I want to have a flag out in front of my house, ain't none of you motherfuckers can stop me, okay? It's stupid that we have to come down to this conversation, when it comes to music and bands, when y'all start, judging people for a social media post when like you ain't breaking bread. Excuse me. You ain't breaking bread. You ain't sitting down with someone. You ain't doing any of that. It's foolish. It's foolish. You wouldn't do it in the world, as we said, when I was wearing the whites and behind the wall. You wouldn't do it in the world. So why are you doing it online? Right? It's just it's just foolish. And as a matter of fact, my buddy Billy Jack Tejerina, my old bandmate, we had a band called Before Pangea, if you know what that means. When the great ban of 2020 that caught my 18-year Facebook account got that. Billy has this saying, and it says, if it isn't said in front of my face, it doesn't exist. And so I'm going to start, trying to work some of that into, my 2026 character. If it's not said in front of me, it doesn't exist, and he's so true. It's so true, But getting back to Memorial Day Metal Fest, part of the reason I started is because like these people were dying fighting for the country for our, you know, privilege to get up on stage and say whatever the fuck we want, right? They're arresting people in England and other places. You can't say shit. As a matter of fact, there's certain songs that people can't sing when they go to China. Like certain big bands have to change lyrics, okay, when they go to certain countries for concerts, And you know, what kind of country are we gonna, be? What kind of music scene are we gonna be, And it's stupid. It doesn't matter who the fuck you are. If it doesn't matter what your ethnicity, it doesn't matter what your spiritual belief, whether it's Christianity or Satan worshiping, it doesn't matter what country you're from, okay? In the United States, you can say whatever the fuck you want. And of course, like let's see, like I'm going to go over here. Like Mr. Charlie Kirk said, hate speech doesn't exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, and then there's gross speech, then there's evil speech, and all is protected by the First Amendment. Wow. Imagine that. Imagine that. And so it's just foolish that in the music industry when, from genitortures, tearing up the Bible on stage to, people getting up on stage with, tape on their nipples to, people having whatever the fuck they want on stage. Like, why is it we can talk about that, but bands that want to get butthurt how they believe, or I'm not going to do a show with that guy because he's MAGA, or he's a Republican, or he's a Democrat, or he's a this, he's a that. How about you all motherfuckers write good music with good fucking lyrics and worry about that shit? Like, how about you worry about that? How about you write good music and good lyrics that hit people that they can relate to, instead of like literally being used by the people at the top, okay, dividing and conquering, like literally, and we can go into who controls, the music industry, right? Ask Kanye, right? Ask other people, and so to me, it's absurd. I'm 50 years old, and I never thought, you know, in my lifetime, that I would literally have to go through this. It's insane. It's literally insane to even think about it, right? And so, look, I put a lot of heart and soul into Metal Fest. There's a lot of stuff y'all don't even know, behind the scenes with that, and after I had my grandbabies, which Nathan is a Metal Fest child, uh, to me, uh, you know, it's kind of like, why am I going to work this hard for people who don't even work that hard for their own band? It's kind of like, call it jaded, call it whatever you want. But when you're in a world, where they're criticizing what people believe, or they're canceling bands at venues, or doing any sort of bullshit, like, it really affects you, because everyone knows, man, I'm the type of mofo, I'll pull up, and that's what you all don't realize, is that you have an email, phone number, name, address, anything, anyone could be found. Like, you have no idea how phone companies are selling your information everywhere. They're even selling them to your car insurance company so that they can hike up your car insurance and other stuff. You don't even know what's going on. What are you doing in life, right? But anyways, if people can get along and people want to keep that shit about music, and some of you bands that maybe you've performed or not performed, you want to do it, and you want to, give a an all in, shit, I'm down. I'll find a venue, we'll pull in bands, and it's not a thing. I just don't want to deal with, a bunch of pussies bitching about shit all the time. Everyone can have a fucking opinion, man. You either fight about it or shut the fuck up. Okay? Like, I'm tired of it, bands. Quit being pussies. If you're in metal, if you're in rock, don't talk shit. We're in Texas. It's a mutual fucking combat state. You DM a motherfucker, hey, let's meet up. Let's fight about it. Like, screw all this. Then maybe you can have a beer afterwards, shake hands, okay, and maybe be friends, maybe work on a project together, instead of being divided by all this red, blue, red, you know, uh, 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 Democrat, Republican, bullshit, And to be honest with you, Billy, Jack Tejerina, and Andy Rodriguez, I mean, they were telling me years ago, and I didn't want to believe it. And what's funny, some of y'all, looky here, looky here, looky here. I'm gonna bring this bad boy up. Y'all are gonna laugh. Y'all are gonna laugh. Let me get it. Looky there. Look at there. Look, what does that say? I had a Howard Dean sticker in a redefeat bush back in the day, man. This was when Samantha, my daughter, okay, who's 22 now, just turned 22, uh, uh, was born. Look at that. Look at that. And so, like, if you've never been on, like, investigated, like politics in that way, like, y'all, like, really gotta, like let it go, man. You grow up, you research stuff, you find out, you change, you know? Here's another thing. Here's another thing. Where'd it where'd it go? Where'd it go? It's right here. This was my original desk. Let's see if you can see it here. Look at that. a Howard Dean sticker. There's my other band sticker. The DEM showcase Grain was a part of, right? But yeah, like so man, I say all this to say, motherfuckers, I'm real. All right. And I just want to hear good bands and good music, man. I have an opinion, man. You don't have to agree with it, but at least if you're going to give it, come with your facts at me. Or just like all my other liberal friends, they don't bring shit up. They don't bring shit up because they don't know and they know that I'm going to eat them up, you know? And you know what? I'm hitting Trump hard on a lot of different stuff because, you know, the thing is when you go back on your word, you got to at least say I fucked up. I don't want to go, I'm not back on, I'm going back on my word. I was wrong. I got new information, something, not just call it a hoax. Okay. That, and to me, it's frustrating. It's very, 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 very frustrating that people can't be objective with thought. And I thought musicians are supposed to be high IQ. I thought they're supposed to, you know, kind of know, what's going on in the world, all of that LSD mushroom taken, it's supposed to open their mind to know what the fuck's going on, and it gets frustrating. So I'm going to go here. Hold on. Let me share it. All right. So when I talk about newer bands, I when I say that I say post 2000 bands, bands that have gotten notoriety post 2000, right? There's a few, so I'm not pigeonholing anyone. I'm saying majority, right? So you have like Pantera lyrics. A smack on the wrist is the word from the mouth of an outsider, lawyer, police. A small price to pay for the dope and guns and the rape. It should all be okay. Your father, he is rich. He's the judge. He's the man. He's the God who got your sentence reduced. But in the back of his mind, he well knows what he'd find if he'd look a little deeper in you. You know, drag the waters to war, right? If you've heard this song, right? Okay. Down here, sweet as a slice in the lips. You're going to have that woman. She's your favorite lay. Promise she swore that no one had been there and she was going to keep it that way. Let it move in. You got thin and got high and your money went, and so did your friends. But she's by your side and her smile cannot hide the premonition of a beckoning hand. The end. Drag the waters to war, And I'm not going to go into anyone, but like Pantera is a perfect example lyrically, of someone who like is bringing it, and I'm just saying like bands, y'all need to get out of the, red blue, you know, Republican Democrat narrative and you just need to criticize whatever y'all feel is fucked up. Put it lyrically, put your heart and soul into it and write about it, you know, because when you do that, it connects with people. They feel the vibrations, they feel you, your heart on the mic, in the music, okay? And they will connect easily. And we can go into that. We can go into a lot of different things, But something I want to do right now, because I'm going to be, I'm going to go into a personal thing here. I'm going to be changing my lifestyle a little. I'm going to be committing to something else. I'm committing to comedy, to do a 5 minute stand up. And then I'm also going to be committing to do some dry fasting. You ask, well, Matt, what's dry fasting? Well, dry fasting is you basically don't eat or drink for 22 hours and you eat and drink in a 2 hour window. And uh, you also, I'm going to be taking my buddy. uh, Gavin's Interstellar Blends, and I'm gonna show you what those are here. He sent me some, and so I'm gonna do this because he literally, said, "Here, Matt, I'm gonna send this to you." I was telling him, I've known Gavin to go out on a story here. How I know Gavin. Gavin, believe it or not, this is the guy who owns the company that I'm going to share with you. Right? I was on Craigslist, okay, and there was some post saying, if you want a copy of 10 letters of an international banker and his son, right? Let me Google that. Of an international banker and his son, right? Let's I'm gonna share it with you right now. All right. And so it's so censored. It's hilarious. Like this book, they put the guy who wrote this book in a crazy house because it literally there's all I have a bunch of books. I have uh secrets bankers don't want you to know about. I have that PDF. A lot of, we talked about information earlier and how they want to keep it from you because they're evil. They don't want the truth getting out. There's a lot in banking that's true with that. And so, how I met Gavin is, you know, this was this book by Sidney Foster. It's not, it's, there it is, 10 letters. You can't even find it anymore. Right. But by the way, if you want this book, email me, okay, or DM me, and I will send the PDF copy to you, just like Gavin did for me. So, how I met Gavin, you see this 10 letters from an international banker to his son. I'm on Craigslist. Look, I don't even know what I was looking for. And I see this, post. I mean, you'll have to ask Gavin. Uh, by the way, this is Gavin. This is my homeboy. That's his interstellar blend. I'm going to go over you with. These are all of his groups that he has right now with all of his different science based formulas. Uh, and so, getting back to the 10 letters. So he's on Craigslist basically just saying, "Hey, if you want a free copy of this book, email me." And I'm like, my spider senses or my human algorithm went up, and I'm like, if someone's giving away something free and it's a book and it's a PDF, it has to be something that's been banned and I want to read it. And that's certainly what it was. Like they put this book out of publishing because if you read it, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But it basically, you know, tells you what we're up against when it comes to this realm, okay? This world, this dimension, whatever you want to call it. And so that's how I met Gavin. Like I knew I think he was doing blends at the time and maybe not as big, but that's how I met Gavin. Gavin was a musician. You can go, he's got a whole story. As a matter of fact, this is his website right here. It's interstellarplan.com. The interstellarplan.com. And you can go there and you can check it out. And, you know, he's got all of his facts, he's got all the scientific data to back it up. He's got everything there. And like, I'm telling you, like, this guy's legit. And so I think I've known him maybe 10 years now. It's been about 10 years. As a matter of fact, I was going to go with Gavin to January 6th. He had a Bentley and I was going to go with him. And I ended up having to work. And believe it or not, his Bentley broke down like before he got there. And I want to say in like North Carolina or something. And that was like the only Bentley dealer. And to this day, he's like, man, it was like God looking out for me, because everyone got arrested. Everyone got, you know, basically the District of Columbia used against him, and so like I say that I say all that is to let you know that like when I met him, it had nothing to do with his blends. It had to do with 10 letters of an international banker, to his son, and him being a musician in Austin. He used to have like a bus, and they would like pull up with the stage, like they were that big time. And how he started, and going to give you the Cliff Notes version, but his mom died of cancer, and it set a fire in him that made him very upset with big pharma. And so he just set his life on researching and finding out, you know, and helping people, you know, uh, to live outside the matrix of big pharma, big food, and big everything. And to go with that, it's like basically like, you know, they had the new food pyramid that just came out, right, with the RFK. And they've been lying to us about food for a while. Why? Because in the 40s, before the 60s and 70s, we didn't obesity wasn't a thing. They changed a lot of food laws, believe it or not, under Reagan. And they started feeding us a bunch of slop and a bunch of processed nonsense. That's when all these cancers and everything started, forming, and everyone became, basically a living, dollar sign, a living, gold coin that, certain people could reap, and so, we're gonna go into it now. Let me see. I'm gonna stop sharing that one. So this is me. He sent him here to me. So we're gonna do an unwrapping, because I really like that's a friend, man. Like I told him what look, man, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about committing. Okay. And he's like, no problem. Let me send you something ASAP. And so here's some of the stuff that he sent me. He sent me Supernova. He sent me some Trinity. Okay. Let's open the other one. And so what you do, okay, is that, you know, basically you get your body into ketosis depending on what blends you're taking, okay? Here it is. Here's some Supernova. Each blend has its own makeup, and you have to go to his website, do your own research. I'm not going to do it for you. I know, that everything he says, is legit because I've known him so long, and he does his homework. And to be honest with you, I'm a guy, when I commit to something, I want to commit. I don't want to disappoint. And I haven't been ready spiritually. I haven't been ready physically to commit. And so, I told him I wanted to commit. So we're gonna open this. Look at this. Look at this awesome stuff, man. He gives when you order from him. Thank you. Look at that. It's backwards, so you all probably ain't gonna see it. This is a symbol, right? Sticker. All right. So what I'm gonna do, because he told me, so I'm gonna open this. So what you do, you know, uh, I'm not starting my fast until Monday, but I want to try some of this. He said, you should do it live, and then you can, let people know. And so I'm like, that sounds like a great idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these. Comes out. It comes in a little pouch like this. These are proprietary blends where he takes different herbs, okay, and he basically scientifically blends them together for different things that you want, and he started out with a few, and he's got so many now. So you just take a little bit with this little spoon. Let's see. Let me raise it up so y'all can see it. I'm gonna use my bullet rye shot glass. We're gonna put it in there. So I'm gonna do one supernova, and it looks like he gave me two supernovas. So I'm gonna do a trinity now. Well, I guess it's two supernovas and two trinities. Awesome. So now I've only ate, I guess, breakfast, lunch, whatever you call it, earlier. So just like some of y'all don't know, you're supposed to fast when you eat hallucinogens to have a greater effect. So this is Trinity. We're gonna take some Trinity out. I'm gonna put it in there like that. Don't want to get him confused. And look, Gavin didn't pay me, for this and or anything like that. I'm just, you know, and he said you normally take it with cold press. He said cold coffee has a certain pofenol or something like that in it that helps. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna do the scissor mix here. So what I did is I took a little cold coffee, put it in there about a shot, 2 ounces, he says. So and you mix it up, which I'm doing now. Probably should have got a different spoon. Let's see. And I'm mixing it up, and then you just shoot it. And so like basically, when you're dry fasting, okay, you take the different blends, okay, depending on if you're trying to get mind focus, if you're trying to, you know, gain muscle, if you're trying to lose weight, whatever you want to do, you make that blend. Sometimes people take blends in the afternoon, they take different ones in the morning, but you take these blends instead of eating, okay? And you really there's testimonies. You won't be hungry depending on, which one you're doing. So, I'm going to take this right now. Take my gum out. I'm going to pour a little bit to get this little glob that missed. So that's what I'm going to be starting Monday is dry fasting. It's time for me to commit. I'm going to change a different part of my lifestyle. And so I'm going to be getting a lot more interstellar blends. I'm going to be getting some for a buddy to help heal his liver. He's got some liver issues and got some dialysis going on, and we want to rebuild his liver, which you can. And what I mean by all this is like this stuff, of course, most of you, if you've done research, fasting, literally regenerates your body. And this basically helps because the premise is that, we're eating too much. The whole 3 meals a day was started by a big grocery to, sell more food, to make everyone fat, with the processed foods, to, you know, make sure doctors had enough, patients, to make money. And of course, who's involved in that? The Rockefellers, right? The Rockefeller Institute, all those COVID type of institutes, right? But we all know what little country they come from. All right. So we're going to wait 20 minutes if I'm not done or if I start feeling it before that. I'm pretty sensitive when it comes to that stuff. I told him I was kind of a bitch about it because I'm like, man, what if I just want to go start singing, or I want to, get a start chugging a bottle of whiskey. But anyways, so yeah, it's crazy getting back to free speech, right? Like what's funny about Gavin, as a matter of fact, let me bring that back up. Like he's been censored. It's been going for a long time of him being censored. He was on I forget he could tell you, but he was on a another uh, uh I guess it's a website that rates products, and they literally banned him from that. He had like 100% like rating. It was really weird. Like, so they don't want you to know this, okay? They don't want you to know the truth. And Gavin's been a friend for a long time. Again, who I met through him giving away a book about bankers, okay, on the internet. So he's been harassed by the IRS. He's been harassed by, a lot of different people, but he is a man of his word. He is doing something I think is very godly. And so I wanted to, do this because he's my friend, not because he paid me to it or he sent me something free, but he's a cool motherfucker. And some of y'all need to go check out his page, like him. See here, he's got the science-based antiviral formula. Uh, He's got one. Uh, I know there's a weight loss one where he's got where you can. Let's see. Yeah, here's one. Uh, weight loss. He's got a weight loss challenge here. Okay, you got people testifying. To it. So look, go check him out again. It's Interstellar Blends right here. Gavin Robert McGowan. This is his website. Okay, theinterstellarplan.com. Okay, if that's something y'all want to do, there's plenty of information out there if y'all are looking to get healthy, looking to, you know, commit to different things. So, getting back to lyrics and music and all that good stuff. So, I just I want everyone, to comment and to, talk about it because it's a real thing. Like for example, some of I got banned from a certain place for a year for pimp slapping a promoter out of Austin named Seneca Three Names. That's what we call him, Seneca Three Names. For him talking shit, and another guy, forget we called him. His nickname we gave him was Man Titty. That was his name because he had three man titties. He had a six-pack of man titties. He talked shit too. Uh, but anyways, like I just don't understand like why you bans if you don't like why do you make people's opinions personal? Why do you take someone's opinion about something political? It's like if you don't take it about cat videos or you don't take it about like why does it bother you so much? Why can't you unfollow or like Brandon was saying today, you just, say you don't want political content in your feed. It's like they're doing this. They're pushing everyone's buttons. They're pushing everyone's buttons, right? And they want people to continue, to backbite. That is what they want. They want you backbiting so they can keep this spell that they've cast on your eyes of not paying attention. So pretty soon you're going to wake up and then look, like let's go to it now. There's a gentleman, okay, over seas, and I'm going to bring it up right now. Who wants to, we had talked earlier about Rob DeSantis, As a matter of fact, I'm gonna bring it up so y'all can see my Twitter. All right. So here's my Twitter, Matt Louderback Matt Louderback at X, right? And some of y'all like don't understand. Like, I don't give a fuck if anyone knows my fucking address. I don't give a fuck. I got a bullet. Make sure you knock on the one with the bullet hole on the front door. Like, I don't give a fuck what you do. But if you could best believe I'm gonna give you that whatever vibrational energy you knock on my door with. You can believe that. Anyways, so I'm going to find this post right here. Okay. This is Sean King. Like, y'all think, Matt's right wing. This is Sean King, Mr. Wannabe black guy, but he's white, right? And it says, again, for my entire life, if I said Jews or Israelis were doing this, I'd be canceled. I'd be called a bigot and an anti Semite. I would be told I was pushing dangerous stereotypes and endangering Jews. Jews and Israelis now admit it all out in the open, right? So let's hear what this is right now.
So someone came up to me after services and said, I really want to ask him a question. But when Nazis were marching, that Jews would show up with clubs and get into fights. He says, now I know we can't do that anymore, but has the ADL ever considered hiring people to countermarch, especially people of different ethnicities, so that because social media and publicity are so important, people won't see marches unopposed? So I have now asked.
So I think it's an interesting question. I think that we have to do, like to quote Wayne Gretzky, is not go where the puck is, but where it's going. And this has been a big lesson really since 10-7 in part. So I can tell you, we have taken resources and redistributed it really towards the LLMs, towards generative AI. Folks, I got to tell you, how many of you used ChatGPT in the last week? Raise your hand. Folks, I'm going to come back here in a year and you all need to raise your hand. ChatGPT is ground truth for the vast hundreds of millions of people. It has over 1 billion users. It's been around for like 2.5 years.
Sure.
So like marching in the streets is one thing we could do, but what I would rather do and where I'm investing is building the technology to train the LLMs more effectively and working with OpenAI, with Alphabet, with Anthropic, with Meta, with Microsoft. We are working with them now to train the LLMs. Heck, we're in conversations with Alibaba to train their LLM because the Chinese AI models are profound and potent and they're much more cost effective and they're spreading. So marching in the streets is certainly one thing we could do. And I get why that matters. But what I need to do is go where the puck is going. So we are investing in Wikipedia, LLMs, and trying to change the game before it changes us.
So, some of you, might be asking, well, what does that mean? I mean, what the fuck do you think it means? I mean, they're training AI to where you ain't gonna be able to say anything about that little country over there. That's what we'll say, right? I mean, it's crazy. It's insane, that we're at a point where the red team, the blue team, the Democrats or Republicans, we can't say that killing, murdering, all right, because there's a difference between killing and murdering. They're murdering, it's unjust taking of life, okay? They're murdering women and children, okay? No matter what religion, no matter what country, no matter what is wrong, and I likened it like this, you know, if the Crips go and shoot someone in a drive by, they don't the sheriff, the DEA doesn't go to that neighborhood and bomb it, right? It doesn't just kill everyone, right? But now, like what they did, okay, in this, the land grab, we'll call it, okay, is they used AI. They gave the internet over to these poor communities that were, without water, destitute. They gave them internet, and then based on what AI told them, if they were a threat, okay, to this other side, they bombed them. First time it's ever been done. It was literally used. So what's going to stop them in the future? Whether you're a red team, blue team, like when are you bands going to realize that this is what matters? It matters being on the free speech side. That it doesn't matter whether you're Christian or Satanist or whether you're, whatever. Free speech is free speech. Okay. And if you can't defend your point or your side, you got to have, you know, use, you know, arguments of fallacy, okay, then you don't need to be in the conversation. Okay. Like you should be able to, no one is above criticism in the United States. Everyone could be criticized. It don't matter who the fuck you are. Okay. That's what everyone needs to get through their head. After that, we need to, it doesn't matter, okay, if it's red or blue, government doing stuff in is bad. Government being influenced by, unregistered foreign agents that don't have to register as lobbyists, bad. Okay. Uh, 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 Charlie Kirk's memorial, geofencing all of the people there without their knowledge and then geofencing their churches, not good. Right. And guess who owns that company that's doing some of that? Right? Erica Kirk's mother and Tyler Boyer. They own that company. And that's been going on. If you don't know about that, you ain't paying attention. You're watching too much Netflix, you're watching too much sports, and you ain't worried about what you should be, but you're over here and you don't want to play for people, on the basis of, what, this guy runs a good ship. You know what? This guy keeps his word. You know what? This guy may have this, but he does this good. And really, to be honest with you, that's like my work ethic. I bust ass and outwork everyone, and people want to hire me. And that's how I've always got where I got today, because I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth. I was adopted, right? Didn't come from money or a rich family, right? The Memorial Day Metal Fest really was you know you know really, the Memorial Day Metal Fest was done for the Lord. Those of you, some of you know that. But it was also for bands, it was also for free speech, it was also for these people that were killing themselves, that were dying in these foreign wars that they didn't ask to be in. And so uh that's why a lot of us that are center right or conservative minded, we're criticizing Trump right now, because the Epstein files aren't a hoax, and you can't go into countries. And, once you have these people who set you up, impeached you, praising you, you know, something's up, and like Saul Trevino over here, he's got to physically see it with his own eyes before he believes anything, right? It's stupid. It's stupid, right? I'm sure when before science, and you could prove air existed that you breathed, right? I'm sure you still believed in it, even though, it wasn't in a book, and, you couldn't see it, right? So it's so stupid that, like, we can't get out of this, like, feedback loop of backbiting, of bands don't want to play for certain people because of politics or opinions. It's stupid, And then you look at, you know, the psychological operations, from the 60s, late 60s, and how they said that they were going to use, the terminology Nazi, and tie anyone with it to demonize them. I mean, it's no different than like giving out a scarlet letter. I mean, like, what are we doing? Is that what the country is in 2026? Oh, metal bands are giving scarlet letters to other metal bands. That's so fucking rock and roll, man. Like, it's stupid. It's fucking stupid, right? Like, I'm sorry, but like, take more acid, take more mushrooms and break out of that box that you have enclosed your mind in, okay? Because the world is a lot bigger than that, you know? I mean, break bread with people, sit down, have a beer, talk with them, get to know them as a father, know them as a son, know them, as a husband instead of, a band person. Like, why are we defining people by opinions, man? It's stupid, right? Like I can like I got friends that are liberals, and we just keep our opinions to ourselves. We don't we the friendship is more important than politics, you know? I don't understand why musicians, can't understand that. Why are we canceling people? Why are we doing this or that? If you want to do that, that's fine. You want to go to that club, that's fine. You want to do that, that's fine. But don't knock someone because they don't want to or they're doing something else. Like, it's just stupid. It's stupid. Like, all right, that's enough of my rant on free speech and bans and politics. I know for me myself, I don't give a damn, what your politics are. I really don't. You know, really, like Metal Fest, we really I try to stay out of the, black metal, or I can't uh recognize your band name because your logo looks like a box of sticks. I try to stay away from those bands because my point of Metal Fest was getting bands that, are marketable, and so look, all you can be black metal, and be on the underground for the rest of your lives. That's cool. Metal Fest is more groove metal, hard rock and roll, you know, basically with, you know, just more marketable, type of music, I guess you can say. And so the point that I'm trying to make with this is that, you if you have good music, you have good music. And every band that has ever played Metal Fest, I personally listen to. It's like doing the other day RC Buford had video where he showed him they scouted Wemby in like 2016 when he was like 9 or 10 years old, something like that, right? Sorry, my big ears are too big here and it hurts. So RC Buford's like showing, look, we were the only ones. Look, everyone, it's all empty. There's no one there. They were the only ones scouting Wemby way back when. And it's like the similar, thing. You scout stuff out, you scout bands out, and if they have talent, they have talent. It doesn't matter what their politics are. It doesn't matter what their religion is. That bullshit shouldn't matter, you know, just like it shouldn't matter, to Florida. Why are you making rules against one religion as opposed to the other? Like, that's what's called common fucking sense. There shouldn't be any fucking rules against any religion or anything else. Like what are we doing here? And it's just so stupid. You censor words, and that's a funny thing. Like, some of y'all don't even know the censorship that's been going on, I would say, since 2010. Like, you're unaware how much the internet has even changed, and you don't even probably know about the blockchain internet 3 coming out, Google Internet 3. Get educated, and so, there's a lot of stuff that I just think bands, like, you should, before you have an opinion, you should at least investigate the facts. I mean, damn, Grocket, do something. I mean, you know, of course, I'm a gab.ai or a uncensored.ai. Their AIs, aren't censored like everyone that you just heard, the guy from, uh, you know, Goldblatt's his name. He's from the ADL, right? You just heard him saying we're training all of Chat GPT and all that. So yeah, there's certain things you ain't going to be able to, criticize, just like you can't criticize, the ethnicities, of a lot of, doctors that pushed COVID and did all this stuff, right? So I'm just saying, y'all should get on the side of truth. And the side of truth is anybody should be able to be criticized no matter who the fuck you are. That's what free speech is to me. I can say whatever the fuck I want on my page. You come to my page and talk shit, then I can go to your house and beat your ass if I want to, and go to jail, get bonded out, get put on probation, do whatever the fuck I want, because that's a free country, you know? And you're entitled to your own opinion, but I just like to have educated opinions, at 50 years of age. I don't like being a marionette or programmed, mind, hive mind or NPC or whatever you want to call it. I try to gather my facts. And you know what? When Matt Latterback's wrong, I say it. I say, you know what? I'm wrong. I got that one wrong, And so, in closing, because I'm fixing to go to the show, if y'all don't know, if y'all want to come, if you want to fight about it, this is where you can find me. If you want to, or you can look me up on my address on the east side. I don't give a damn. Let's see. I think it here. This is where I'm going to be at tonight. Scream at the Sky. Why do I like Scream at the Sky? They put their heart and soul on stage. They're professionals. Like, I'm a musician. I'm a heavy metal singer. My wife's a drummer. I know people that keep time. I know people who are worrying about the wrong things when it comes to being a musician. And so, I know that they're going to give it their all, and I want to see it, a few of these other bands I haven't seen, uh they got Agony, Beauty Morgue, and Dunwich Heroes. I think that's how you pronounce it. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But look, everyone, free speech is free speech, and at the end of the day, it's like, any other community wouldn't be backbiting, and eating each other, over foolishness. And that's just what I think is foolish. If someone writes a badass song, man, they're a badass song. That's a badass song. You know what? There was lots of bands like I got in a fight. I have a one of my old roadies, and Andrew Barrera. You can look him up. I got in a fight with his brother because I was listening to Devil Driver, and he said I couldn't listen to Devil Driver and be a Christian because I told him I love the music. Some of the lyrics I just don't like. Oh, you can't be a Christian and listen to Devil Driver. And it's like, who the fuck are you to tell me what the fuck I can do, motherfucker? And I'll never forget because I picked him up and fucking slammed him down on the ground in my house down by St. Mary Street at the time off Woodlawn. And it was just stupid. Anyone can believe whatever the fuck they want, and if you shouldn't like, you know, tear down people's beliefs in a, disrespectful way unless you're ready to deal with the consequences, you know? And so again, Metal Fest, no matter what my beliefs, I never took anyone's. I didn't go and stalk. There is some promoters that I have heard that will go and stalk your page for political content and then go around and play that bullshit. Like, bro, that's G A. It's like, why? Right? It's stupid. Like, why? Like there's write songs. Like, why are you going and like it's just stupid. Some people have opinions, maybe you change someone's opinion that you don't like. How are you ever going to do that if you're never befriend them? You're just like, oh, they're an asshole. It's stupid. Some people write good music. Some people have good businesses. Some people aren't good people that have good businesses. Some people, are good people, but, their music isn't so good. I mean, that's just life. Okay. And look, if you want me to put my heart and soul, like Scream at the Sky, put on stage, and Gavin puts with Interstellar Blend, like I did for Metal Fest, well then y'all need to put this politics bullshit to the side. Let people talk, let people say whatever the fuck they want. Let them be Americans, okay? Let them have the freedom while it's still here, And guess what? Write fucking songs talking about this shit. Like, why are you trying to stifle free speech? Why are you trying to stifle this? Why are you trying to stifle that instead of politic bullshit? Because both sides can agree that fuck, don't be stifling our free speech. Don't be doing this. Don't be doing that. It's not hard. It's easy. So look, I'm gonna put a poll up. I'll put a poll up and I'll let everyone know. Look, if you're watching on another thing, I don't even know if this Riverside is going correctly. I'll have to upload it to Facebook. If it's not, I got a lot of comments. I haven't been able to, answer, because I've been focused. And speaking of focus, I think it's been 20 minutes now. Someone will have to get the timestamps, but I'm telling you what. I'm telling you what. It's my first time taking any of Gavin's blends as long as I know him, and like I feel ready, man. Like I feel like I want to go take a test, like a test, like uh 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 a midterm. That's what it feels like, or a term. Like I feel ready. I mean, all I can say, right now is that it definitely has given me some pep in my step, as they say, and some focus, and I haven't totally went through these two blends and what they do. Again, Gavin sent these as a courtesy, for being a friend, you know, uh, and I appreciate it because it's hard when you go into a different season or you're changing habits. It's hard, and so man, I really appreciate that. So shout out to Interstellar Blends, and again, everybody, this is just my fucking opinion about free speech. If you have yours, that's fine, man. I didn't say like mine's 100% right, man. The whole purpose of Metal Fest is to get good musicians and to get on stage and network and do something for these guys that are dying, for us to be able to get up on stage for the time being and say whatever the fuck we want. Whether it's burn a flag, whatever it is, like, you know, it's just, you can't, you got to be for everything. You're either for free speech or you're against it. You can't be pick and choose, okay, what kind of free speech you want to be free. That's not how it works, okay? So with that, on the different platforms, I'm going to go check right now after I sign off, and if it's not up there, I'm going to go ahead and I'll post it. I don't know how Riverside, works, but this is the program I'm doing. I'm gonna go live a few times. Some of you all know I'm gonna be starting something. I just have some things I got to do before I do that. You and so I'm gonna try a few different things because it's really hard. Like some of y'all don't know. There's been the great bands that y'all don't know about, and so it, it's a thing. You know, I'm looking to build possibly my own server so no one can cancel me. And so I'm looking at those type things, because eventually you're going to get demonetized and all that. It all happens. And so it's funny, like every 5 years there's these people and they're like, oh, X and oh, Facebook and oh, this. It's like, dude, they've been censoring. The only ones that there's none that don't censor. I've been censored on Gab. I've been censored on Rumble. I've been censored on Telegram. I've been censored on every platform. So they all do it. It's just some censor less than others. X censors less than Facebook. Telegram censors less than X. Uh, uh, and there's others, But anyways, yeah, this is Riverside. This is what their little thing, goes to. So this is what I'm using right here. I have another tab open. You can go live again. This is an old video I did. So This is the one that I'm checking out right now. So, anyways, hope to see some of y'all tonight. You know, and again, I'm just trying to start a conversation to where all of us musicians can put a fucking beer up and say, you know what, we're together on free speech. You know, that's the only purpose, man, because I don't need to be in jail again or, for chasing some of you assholes down that want to talk shit. But anyways, I'll be at somewhere bar tonight. Thank you for everyone and God bless. Louderback out.